Alright, so we're going to go over just quality control on SheetCam, as well as taking a look at files, making sure that we're getting the appropriate offset on the files that we're working with in SheetCam. So let's go ahead and break right into this here. I have one file here, and we're going to take a close look at this. So immediately we're struck with two different colors on the screen. If you don't see the colors, let's say you see it all in white, or you see it all in this unique gray. Let's say you're seeing it like this. If you ever need to see the red versus yellow, go to your pointer tool, click off the screen, and you should be able to see the yellow and red. So yellow represents an inside shape, red represents an outside shape. And if we see a red inside of a yellow, that means that it's an inside of an inside shape. Let's see how this impacts our drawing. Alright, so we have our red representing outside, yellow represents inside. This is important because SheetCam recognizes both the yellow and the red. We're going to go to Operation, Plasma Cut. We're going to select our layer, Layer 2. We're going to go to our tool. I'm going to use a 16 gauge simulator tool. We're going to go ahead and set this to 49 inches a minute. We're going to have a 0.25 or a quarter inch lead in and lead out right here. We're just going through the basic steps of setting up the file. But I have this set outside offset. This is where we need to highlight this here. Outside offsets listed there. We're going to hit OK. Boom. All right, let's take a look at this. On an outside offset, this is what you should be seeing. I'm going to hit this button. This is how your system will usually read the file here. I have my offsets actually put my lead in and lead out put to the middle of these stars. This is where you want to see those lead ins and lead outs, and that's because we did an outside offset. So what an outside offset means is on this red outside shape. So if we're looking at this, we see this red outside shape here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's move that to the center. Okay, red outside shape. If I were to put my operation on there, it's going to cut from the outside of the outside shapes. And these inside yellow shapes, it's going to cut from the inside of the yellow shapes. So technically, looking at this file based on the way it was designed and just all of this, it's just a matter of importing the file, selecting outside offset, and then everything else falls in line. This is how it's going to look when it's cut. It's really exciting. I say we take it. Let's go ahead and move on to another file. Again, we take a look at this here. I like what I'm seeing already. We have red on the outside, yellow on the inside. You see all these white dots? These white dots represents vectors. And part of the reason you could see you're likely to see more slag development along these grooved and unique shaped points just because we have so many individual vectors forming those points. And the plasma cutter is going to speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down between every single one of these lines because it has to be able to make the proper turns and keep with the proper accelerations so that you get as consistent a cut as possible. But having so many vector points like these corners here, you're going to see a lot more slag development. But because this is also stylized to be this grunge look on the outside, this worn or weathered look is probably a better way to put it, you're going to need some of those vectors to be there just to emulate that curve and give you that rough edge. So I will leave that purely up to your artistic instinct, but the fewer the vectors, the cleaner that it cuts. So if you maybe want to reduce some of these tight points to, well, you have one here, and one here, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like there's 3 right there. So we can make some judgment calls artistically as well as for the plasma cutter vector count wise, because you may not need all these vectors here and you may want to come by and just clean them up. Okay, so here we go. We have this sign. Again, we're going to follow the same format here. We go and go to Operation, Plasma Cut, Outside Offset, because it's going to cut the outside of the outside shapes and the inside of the inside shapes. That's what outside offset means. Everything else is staying the same here. And if you look closely, again, it's cutting the inside of the inside shape here, because again, this Y is staying into the piece, so it's obviously going to cut around it. So it's coming from the inside of the inside shapes and the outside of the outside shapes. Awesome to see. Let's see what this is complaining about. Okay, so this is saying some features were too small to machine. There could be something wrong with the drawing. So what it's likely complaining about is right here. This feature itself is also too small for the plasma cutter to come in and cut. You know what? That's sort of the nature of the biz here. We can't really do anything to change that unless you want to go through and actually redesign that part of the file. Entirely up to you. The plasma cutter is going to ignore it anyway. You can go to cut it out and it'll cut out just fine. Okay, let's go and look at least one or two more here. All right, fantastic. Let's take a look at this next one. We have woke. And this is a really clean file. I like the quality of the file I'm seeing here. Red on the outside, yellow on the inside. Again, I can't complain. Well, I mean, what can I tell you here? We're going to go through the same process. It's going to be outside offset, and it'll cut out just fine. That's the beauty of having these files here. I can't complain. I'm trying to sit here finding something wrong, but I can't. The reason you'd find something wrong would be things like disconnected lines. So if this was a white outline as opposed to a red outline, we can find that, oh, okay, this is a line as opposed to a shape. So anything represented in white when it comes to lines is a line, not a shape. Now remember, it does look white in this screen, so make sure you go back to your pointer tool. So nesting tool, it's going to appear white. Pointing tool, as long as you click off the screen, this should appear red and yellow. If it's still all white after going through these steps and clicking off the screen, then it's likely that these files aren't lines, aren't shapes, they're lines. So keep that in mind, because that would impact if this was an outside line as opposed to a shape. That would mean that the next level of shape, or the only available shape, would be these letters, and these letters would be in red. So if we do outside offset, it'll cut from the outside of these letters, because this outside, if it was white, would be a line. And it's going to cut along the line and then recognize this as the outside shape, and going to give you all of those lead in and lead outs on the outside. But because, again, we're red on the outside, yellow on the inside, we can go ahead and go to Operation Plasma Cutter, hit that same icon down here, and outside offset, there we go, boom, and boom, take a look at that. And it's going to cut out. So really not a whole lot to say to fix that one, just because, again, every file that I'm opening up so far seems very clean, has red on the outside, yellow on the inside. I'd say you've got this.